But I'm going to tell you, man, if you can lock in and be tunnel vision, I promise you this. Even if you still have love for that person, I promise you this. That person will no longer that person will no longer be on your level. Like, even if you wanted to make it right, even if there was an iota of something inside of you to say, you know what, man, let me give that person a chance. They won't even be able to fit in the room that you're in now. They won't even be able to rub elbows with the spouses of the people you're rubbing elbows with, because you're going to be speaking Greek at this time. You're going to be in a completely different realm. Eddie's brothers. Man, after a breakup, you must rebuild in solitude. You have to rebuild in solitude, because what you're going to understand over time, you'll understand this. What you're going to understand is that after a breakup, that's going to be some of the most powerful times in your life, and I'll explain why. You know, if you live long enough, man, and you can kind of look at the patterns of life, you'll understand that your greatest quantum leaps in life will come after a breakup. And I'm not talking about, you met a chick, man, and y'all talked and dated for 3 or 4 months, man. Y'all, hung out, went bowling. I'm not talking about you just meeting somebody and it falls apart. I'm talking about a relationship where, like, y'all were starting to have roots and maybe meet each other's family, like relationships, long-term, a year minimum type joints. 5 years, 10 years, 20-year marriage and got divorced type relationships. You know what I'm saying? And you can lie to your friends and I can lie to mine. Like coming out of a breakup is challenging. I don't care if you have knowledge. I don't care if you stay in frame. I don't care if you're all these words. Coming out of a relationship can be challenging, man. And to be honest, a lot of men don't overcome those. But if you understand, or when you understand what we're going to talk about today, you're going to understand that those are going to be the most powerful times in your life, bro. The most powerful times in your life. Now let's say why. Why is that the most powerful time in your life, soul? Well, on the lowest of levels, you got to understand that a lot of your time that's required for you to move forward will be coming back to you. As beautiful as relationships are time consuming, especially if you are a forward moving man. Especially if you are a mission-minded man and you always have some kind of goal you're achieving. Relationships are time-consuming, man. A woman that wants to text and talk all day, a woman that wants to go out to every party, a woman that wants to hit every concert and go out every weekend. You really don't have time for that. So when you find yourself in a situation where all that time comes back to you, you're going to be able to move a little different, but that's the lowest of levels, man. On the second level, I'll say you'll be able to walk in your own truth again. As powerful as, and when I say your own truth again, I'm talking about the first marriage of man, that marriage where you're finding yourself. You'll be able to walk in that again, because as beautiful as relationships are, as powerful as they are, if two people can come together and they found self, as powerful as that is, the truth that y'all build together is still somewhat of a diluted version of your own. You're taking your truth, she's taking her truth, and y'all are building. And I'm sure before a breakup, those truths are getting distorted and pulling, So when you find yourself single again, you will be in your own truth again. So whatever that mission was you were trying to accomplish, there will be nothing pulling you from outside of that vision. You know what I'm saying? So that's the second level. But the third and most critical level, man, is you have to understand that the energy that you've been pouring into your relationship is coming back. The energy that you were pouring into that woman will be coming back. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't believe a lot of people, men and women, I don't believe a lot of people understand how much energy is required to be in a relationship for a man. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak from a woman's point of view. But I know as a man, us as men, when we're in relationships, and I'm not talking about flings, I'm not talking about sneaking, I'm talking about if you're in a real relationship where you're actually loving that woman, you're looking out for her best interests, you're protecting and providing. There's a source of energy that comes out of a man that's nonstop. You know, like when you have a woman, you know what I'm saying, you can never cut that switch off. Where it's like, you know, there's not a point in time where a certain amount of your bandwidth is not going towards, is she okay? Is babe good to go? Even when you're at work and you're on the assembly line and you're talking to your partners, a portion of your energy is going somewhere else to place an energetic covering over her. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, man, all that energy is coming back to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the most critical part, man, because what you do with that energy is going to determine everything. What you do with that time is crucial. How you reconstruct your truth is critical. But what you do with that energy, bro, is everything. It's everything, man. So you got to understand what you do next is going to determine what your future is going to look like. What you do next, the things that you do next is going to determine if you're going to quantum leap or if you're going to dig yourself, put yourself in a hole and never be able to come out of it, like a lot of men do. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing is this, brothers. Once you get that time, once you formulate your truth, once you get that energy back, the first thing you have to understand is this, and this is crucial. The first thing you have to do, man, is whatever happened in that relationship, however things went down, if you stepped bad, if she stepped bad, if y'all just lost interest, if somebody was cheating, it don't matter what took place. If she was 100% in violation, before you move forward, man, you gotta go to that sacred space. You gotta go inside and forgive that woman. That's gonna be the challenge. You have to forgive that woman for whatever she did. As a matter of fact, some years ago, when I went through a situation, I came out and made a video about that, man. I said, and I broke down why. Because you gotta understand, man, right now you might have 2 or 3 exes. You might still be mad at the girl you dated in the 7th grade because she wouldn't kiss the quarterback on the cheek, and you still salty. You have no idea you're still pouring energy in her direction. You ain't seen her in 20 years, 30 years. You're still pouring energy. You're still putting a fulfillment in her life due to your anger. So you got to understand, the woman you just stopped talking to, man, regardless if she stepped wrong, regardless of what she did, you got to go inside and say, you know what? That was dirty. That was foul. You got me. You got me. But you know what? I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to release that. I'm going to release that from myself. And I'm going to tell you this, everybody believes something different, man, but I believe in cord cutting ceremonies, and there's probably a million different versions, man. But I'll go in my mind and just kind of make peace with what happened. I'll say, hey, you know what? I don't have all the answers to whatever went down, but I'm going to release it. And in my mind, I'll physically cut an energetic cord from myself in that person and forgive that person. You know what I'm saying? And just release all of that. And me, instantly, I can feel my energy coming back. And when I say instantly, it's always like over a 24-hour, what I'm calling instant, 24-hour, 48-hour period. I can see my life doing some things because I've released that energy. So you have to forgive that person, or anything else I talk about will be null and void. You have to first forgive that woman, man. Second thing you have to do is this, brothers. You have to put your ego in your back pocket. I got that from my uncle, man. When I was joining the military, my uncle, he was a vet, man. He was like, hey, man, nephew is going to be like this. When you get off the bus, they're going to be in your ass. He said, put your pride in your back pocket. Put your ego in your back pocket because you won't make it without that. So I'm saying, when you go through a breakup, brothers, you have to put your ego, you have to put your pride in your back pocket. And what I mean by that is this. A lot of times when people, both men and women, come out of relationships, the first thing they want to do is prove that they're him. And I've done it. You were with your girl or whatever, man. Y'all were vibing. Everybody kind of knew y'all were together, and y'all break up. The first thing you want to do is, well, let me prove to the world, let me prove to my ex that I'm him. And you'll spend the next few days, weeks, months, sometimes even years, just living reckless, trying to prove to the world that, hey, you know what? Like, that didn't affect me. Like, I can still get women. I can still move like this. You have to understand, man, don't do that. You have to understand you can't move like that. And the reason I say you can't move like that, man, is because I'll say it like this. I'll kind of go a different direction. You have to understand when you move like that, it's really something deeper being uncovered. When a man comes out of a relationship and the first thing he wants to do, he unplugs from that one and plugs into somebody else. Or a lot of times, because most men don't understand this conversation we're having, they're still angry. So they're plugging into their ex and still want to come out and jump in another situation. So they're plugging into their ex, giving all that bandwidth out of anger. And now they're plugging into some stranger they just met. So you got to understand, their world is about to start collapsing in any minute. They're just leaking energy all over the place. And really what that's exposing is, a lot of times it's exposing a trauma when a person can't sit with themselves. And I'll be honest, man, when I say that, I'm speaking to a much older version of me. There was a relationship I was in several years ago, and I kind of just started looking at the patterns. I said, man, every time I get out of a relationship, I'm always entertaining something else. And even if it wasn't me entertaining something long term, even if it was just like a fling, or even if it was just me calling, somebody I talked to a long time ago and we just vibing. I'm not even talking sexual. If we just kind of vibing and texting, kind of just, what I understood, man, it was me trying to fill the void that was there. And I'll call it what it is. A lot of us men, a lot of people, but I'm speaking to us men, a lot of us men have codependent issues, and we're not calling it that. We're not calling it that. Like, when you come out of a relationship, if you're a whole person, the first thing you're going to do is sit still and recalibrate and look at that situation and say, okay, you know what? Good, bad. Let me take all the data I can from that to become a better person. But a lot of us can't even take 5 minutes to do that. We jump in a situation because we have to fill that void. We have to have another woman in that space. You know what I'm saying? So of course, I'm talking energy, but at the same time, if you're a man that moves like that, it's really exposing something else, man. So don't go out trying to, beat your chest, man, and try to show that woman that you're still the man. If you know you him, you know you him. And once you understand everything we're talking about, you're going to know that, hey, you know what? It's not about, I'll say it like this. You got to understand this. When you go through a breakup, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, when a man is moving to a certain degree, moving in a certain way, that woman is going to win that battle. Meaning when it comes to y'all breaking up and somebody getting in a relationship and posting pictures on the gram, she's pretty much going to win that battle if you're moving in a certain way. And what I'm really saying is, if somebody's on the outside looking at both parties, they're going to say, oh, okay, you know what? She moved on and she's happy most of the time. If we're moving right as men, because us as men, we're supposed to be doing some bigger things right then. In other words, let her win the battle, because if you do what I'm going to tell you how to do, you're going to win the war. She's going to win that battle. She's going to look good for 2 or 3 months, whatever. But overall, when the smoke clears, you're going to be standing on top, man. So let her win the battle, man, but you're going to win the war. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is this. At that time, man, it's all about, I'm trying to think how I want to say that, man. It's like, in other words, our mindset as men have to be all about buttoning up and rebuilding. buttoning up and rebuilding. You know, like, and what I mean by that is when I say button up and rebuilding, I kind of, when I say button up, that's kind of twofold. Like when I say button up, I'm really saying, suit up and get back in your frame. Get back in your frame and rebuild. And when I say get back in your frame, I'm specifically talking about getting back in your frame and rebuilding in the pain. Maybe some of y'all ain't never went through no breakup. I've had, and when I talk about, and again, I'm not just talking about every relationship, like the type of relationship and breakup I'm talking about, I've only experienced, like I would only consider, and I've been in relationships, but I would only consider 3 relationships and three breakups to compare to what I'm talking about now. Of course, when I was married for 10 years. And then after that, I was in another 10-year relationship. And then I was engaged to a chick. Like those were the major relationships that I was in. And the thing is, I applied to all those breakups. I applied to what I'm about to talk to you about. And each time my life just went through the roof afterwards. So when I say you have to button up, you have to rebuild in the pain. Like a lot of times, and of course I learned this over the years. The first time when I went through a divorce, it really took me a handful of years to recalibrate. But once I did, I looked back and I said, you know what? I could have done this instantly. And then when I went through that next relationship, I kind of had more understanding, and it was a quicker process. In my last major relationship, man, it was like in a year's time, I was in a completely different space. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I'm just telling you something out of theory. I'm telling you something I've tested over time, and now I understand what's taking place. So when I say button up and rebuild, button up meaning suit up and lock in, suit up and build that avatar that's been calling you. In other words, if you've been splitting your truth with the woman, y'all are building something beautiful. But once you get that energy back, you got to get selfish and say, you know what? What's that version of me that if I was solo, in other words, let me build that Iron Man version of me in this pain that I'm in, type button up, right? So when I say button up, I mean that. And then when I say button up, I also mean this. You got to go in that space. Like when I say button up, the second meaning is like when I was in the military, like let's say, for example, let's say you're in a combat situation and you're going through enemy territory, and everybody might have been outside the track vehicles riding, making jokes on the radio and kind of just scoping out the scene. But you might get to certain areas where they say, hey, you know what? There may or may not be some hazards here. Everybody button up. That means you need to get inside your track vehicle, and as y'all are driving, pull the hatch down, seal it off, where anything on the outside has no way of getting in. No rounds, no smoke, no nothing. So when I say button up, I mean you got to close yourself off to the old world and lock in to where anything outside of that vision, man, cannot penetrate. And the reason I say button up, the reason it's so extreme is because there's going to be a lot going on the outside. You're going to have people saying things. You're going to have new women saying, oh, are you single now? Hey, big head, I want to da. And that can easily pull you off course. But you got to button up, bro. You got to understand that, hey, you know what? I have all this energy that just came back to me. I'm about to do something major with it. I'm about to quantum leap with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to utilize this. I'm about to move forward based on this. Like, you really have to use that pain as fuel. If you really understand energy and understand that as an alchemist, you can label it what you want to label it with. You can call it fuel, bro. Pain and anger, whatever, or what would be anger, you can transmute that to just straight raw fuel. You know what I'm saying? And when I say rebuild, I'm really just talking about, again, going into that sacred space and building that Iron Man version of you that's been pulling on you during that whole relationship. There's a version of you, man. There are some things that you've been wanting to do, man. There are some, maybe it was like, hey, you know what? If I went in this relationship, I could lock in and read more books. I could lock in and spend more time at the gym. I could lock in and make more content. I could lock in and build this app that I've been working on. I can lock in and do whatever, man. So when I say rebuild, I'm talking about create that version and then go tunnel vision. On a video I made about 5 or 6 years ago, I said, put them blinders on, like them horse races. Like them race horses. Put them blinders on, man, where anything going outside of, wherever your vision is, anything outside of that is irrelevant. Is irrelevant. And I'm going to tell you this, man. I'm going to tell you this. If you can move like that, if you can collapse time, if you can bring your heaven up on your earth, I'm talking singular truth talk now. Get the book if you will. Get the book. If you can collapse time, bro, the goal, I promise you this, the goal that you might have said, I can accomplish this in 3 or 4 years, I'm going to be here. You can knock it out in 12 months. The goal that you wanted to knock out in a year, you can be there in about 4 or 5 months. I'm telling you, if you lock in, man, you have so much energy coming back towards you, man. If you can learn to hone in and channel that energy, bro, you finna do numbers. You're getting ready to move mountains. And then I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen at some point in time, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, it's gonna happen every time, bro. In some way, shape, form, or fashion, either that person or representative of that person is going to purposely cross paths with you. Oh yeah, hey, you know what? I was thinking about you. I know we da. Or hey, you know what? What's going on? So and so, like, yeah, I was thinking about you. I was talking to my girl last week. Dang, it's crazy. I saw you post today. I'm just checking on you. Yeah, she said this. In some way, shape, form, or fashion, that person's energy, whether it's them or through somebody else, is going to cross paths with you. But I'm going to tell you, man, if you can lock in and be tunnel vision, I promise you this. Even if you still have love for that person, I promise you this. That person will no longer that person will no longer be on your level. Like, even if you wanted to make it right, even if there was an iota of something inside of you to say, you know what, man, let me give that person a chance. They won't even be able to fit in the room that you're in now. They won't even be able to rub elbows with the spouses of the people you're rubbing elbows with, because you're going to be speaking Greek at this time. You're going to be in a completely different realm. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you win the war. The only way you need to get, and I don't, because it's not about getting even, but if you want, the only way to make things right is for you to move forward, bro. To sit there and try to impress an ex and move ex or whatever, that's how females move. Men put that rucksack on, man, put those blinders on and just start marching. And and say, hey, I hear all the chatter. I hear the rounds landing in the background, but I got this whole new energy on me. I got this whole new mindset. I'm tunnel vision. I'm using this pain to move forward. What I'm telling you is gospel, bro. What I'm telling you is gospel. So for all of y'all brothers, man, that maybe some of y'all brothers are going through a major breakup. Maybe you've gone through a major breakup 6 months ago, a year ago, and you find yourself in this sunken space. And you like, man, am I ever going to get out of this? Bro, you can turn things around instantly. Instantly cut that energy out from her, man. Forgive her and create a new vision and march to your marching orders. I'm gonna tell you, man, in all dark times there is a blessing. And I'm telling you, man, like coming out of a breakup, if you go into that state of solitude and lock in, brother, you're gonna turn your life around.